and is making yet one more step towards confrontation by putting to a vote a draft resolution which does not have unanimous support of Security Council members. It is not true that almost all our requirements are taken in there. The text here is nothing else other than an attempt to recreate unchanged the former joint investigative mechanism in the cases of chemical weapons use in Syria, the JIM. And Russia has underscored always that this approach will not be supported by us. The JIM became a puppet in the hands of anti-Damascus forces, covered itself with shame when it came up with proof of guilty verdict to a sovereign state without a credible evidence. The American draft identically reproducing all of the flawed working methods of the former mechanism. The new mechanism would be carrying out the investigation the way it sees fit, without any kind of reference to the standards in the Chemical Weapons Convention. This has nothing to do with being independent, the independent nature, which is something that lip service is being paid by the sponsors and their allies. And we do know what the price for such an independence is. This is anarchy and manipulation. At all of the stages of working on the American initiative, we have insisted that the Secretary General of the UN should select the staff for the investigative mechanism on the basis of a maximally broad geographical representation, and then this is to be subsequently approved by the Security Council. Visiting the sites of incidents and strictly following the principle of sequential acts, whilst at the same time protecting the chain of custody of evidence, is not something that is optional. It has to be mandatory working principles. The Security Council, through collective decisions, would determine who is responsible for the use of chemical weapons on the basis of reliable evidence, the kind of evidence that would leave no doubt in the right conclusions being reached. Nothing along these lines is contained in the American draft. The authors know that it is at variance with the Russian position and that will not pass. Nonetheless, they very determinedly continue insisting on it. It is clear that the provocation step today has nothing to do with the desire to investigate what happened in Duma in Syria on the 7th of April. In order to have initial fact-finding, we do not need to have an attributive mechanism. Even if one can imagine an impossible situation that we pass a decision on its creation today, then in order to put the mechanism together and fine-tune its working, several months will be needed. And determining the guilty party is the end stage of a very long chain of actions. Here, I want to once again publicly put the following question to you. Why do you need the mechanism? What do you need this for when you have already appointed the guilty party prior to the investigation? You do not need the investigation. You do not want to hear anything. You do not want to hear the fact that no traces of a chemical attack were found in Duma. You have simply been looking for a pretext all this time. And it has been very kindly provided by the provocateurs from the White Helmets. This is something along the lines of March Madness. Exactly a year ago, in April 2017, everything followed a very similar scenario. There was a chemical provocation in Rai-Shikun, and then there was a missile strike. In actual fact, the authors are being driven by completely different priorities. They hope very much that the decision will not pass. This is what they want. And this is the fact that they will put in the general tally in order to justify the use of force against Syria. The Washington administration has for several days now been maintaining the international community in a state of tension whilst discussing the important decisions which are coming up. Yesterday, we heard the concern about the escalation going beyond Syria, which was expressed by the Special Representative of the Secretary General, Staffan de Mistura. And we also know that this is also very much a concern of the Secretary General of the UN. It is clear that the propaganda fire will once again be aimed at Russia. My American colleague will very carefully count the number of Russian vetoes on Syria. We do not exclude the possibility that he has taken upon herself the capitalist commitment to make sure that through the reckless policy of the United States, she can establish her own personal record here. We are using the veto in order to protect the international rule of law, peace, and security, to make sure that you do not drag the Security Council into your adventures. You do tell us that we are covering up for someone. We are in Syria at the invitation of the legal government in order to combat international terrorism in line with the UN Charter. Who do you cover up? You cover up the fighters and the terrorists. If you took the decision to carry out an illegal military adventure, and we do hope that you will come to your senses, well, then you will have to bear responsibility for it yourselves. What you're trying to do is planting this resolution within the Security Council, something that has been on the shelf for a long time ago, in order to find a pretext. You have stated that unequivocally several times, stating that if the Security Council does not come up with a decision, you will make a decision of your own. Why are determinedly trying to undermine the authority of the Security Council while pushing forward a resolution that we will not pass? And many told you about this yesterday during the consultations. We call upon the American side to very soberly approach the confrontational potential here, come to their senses, and give up putting the draft to the vote. Russia will not be able to support the American draft. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his statement. I shall first put to the vote the draft resolution contained in document S/2018/321 submitted by Canada, France, the Netherlands, Peru, Poland, Sweden, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Turkey, and the United States of America. Will those in favour of the draft resolution contained in document S/2018/321 please raise their hand?
En contra.
Those against? Abstentions?
El resultado.
The result of the voting is as follows. 12 votes in favour, 2 votes against, 1 abstention. The draft resolution has not been adopted owing to the negative vote of a permanent member of the Council. I now give the floor to those members of the Council who wish to make statements after the vote.
Doy la palabra.
I give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is a sad day for the Security Council. It's a sad day